So you want to become a front-end developer. You know what can say to you? I can say to you that it's not the best idea. Why? Because I worked as a front-end developer for a decade or so, and I have a bunch of reasons that I will tell you now that might make you rethink your decision to become front-end developer. Let's go. First one is CSS. CSS is hard for a bunch of reasons. First one is it's hard by design. You have to know a lot. It's not intuitive. You have to learn about selectors. You have to learn about selector specificity. If you apply specific styling rules, it might be very unpredictable. Some rules might override each other, others apply in a non-predictable way. And also some rules are just browser specific, so they will work in Firefox but work differently or just not work in Chrome. One of the recent examples of such thing was implementing the scroll bar or styling the scroll bar on one of my projects. It works in Chrome, it doesn't work in Firefox as I would expect. And also some rules just get released later in different browsers. Reason number 2, also related to styles, but involving more of a human factor. A lot of designers require you to develop custom CSS. They want custom looking elements like custom checkboxes, custom sliders, custom buttons, custom whatever. Problem with that is that everything needs to work as intended in the browser. For example, it needs to continue to be accessible. It needs to continue to be parsable by the machines. It needs to work correctly, and often it is much more complex than it looks. Even the simple thing like a toggle or checkbox, it is actually more complex than it looks like. Next thing, accessibility. It is very important just to make sites accessible, but also it might be required by the company where you work to follow the guidelines and rules to make the sites or web applications accessible. It is hard because those requirements are complex, and you have to be very cautious implementing any sort of custom thing, or even just regular things like forms. Making them right is kind of hard, and I didn't find any good materials on how to do this, and you will have to learn by trial and error a lot of times. Actually, there is A11Y project, and also there are a bunch of reference implementations of the forms that fully support accessibility, and you will have to research it a lot if you want to be fully accessible websites. Just so you know, it can be hard. Reason number 4, you need to keep your applications performant, and it means 2 things generally. First, you need to keep your bundle size small, so it gets delivered quickly, and whenever the person opens the web page or the web application, it loads quickly. Another thing is that it needs to work quickly, and if you use modern frameworks like React or Svelte or Solid or Vue or whatever, it usually is not such a big of a problem, but when you experience performance issues, it's very hard to debug and fix, and it's kind of annoying. The tools that allow you to profile them and find the bottlenecks where your app actually gets sluggish are complex, and you will have to invest extra time learning how to work with them. Reason number 5, you will have to learn a lot, and you will have to learn constantly. Every few years, maybe every 1 or every 2 years, your knowledge will get partially or completely outdated. New frameworks, new approaches in design, new approaches in development, new libraries, new functionality. Everything is renewed every year regularly, and you will have to keep yourself up to date. And it's hard, especially after you will have your day job, you will have your tasks, and you will have to kind of find some time every day to continue learning. It's hard, just be ready to do that. Another thing, previous topic was mostly related to new functionality released by the browsers, but also there are new frameworks. And for example, if you continue to work with something outdated like jQuery or Backbone, or maybe even Bootstrap that is getting outdated-ish, at least I see some articles and opinions of people who are trying to migrate to something newer and shinier like Tailwind or something. You will have to keep yourself on top of that. All that things. You will have to know what libraries are getting released, what kind of approach do they present to you, and what is the difference between the new approaches and the old ones, and you need to orient in this vast landscape of new libraries and tools. So basically I've mentioned this topic twice, but it's really important. Frontend is an area where things move fast, and you will have to move fast as well, otherwise you will get outdated, and it can be scary. Another thing also related to things moving quickly is you need to keep your eye on what's already supported and what's not so much yet. And by this I mean there are different browsers, there are different generations and kind of browsers, and oftentimes you will have to support outdated things. Like we had to support IE 11, Internet Explorer 11 for several years, even though it's outdated not by design, but it's morally outdated. Like, it doesn't support a lot of new things. It has had problems with a lot of CSS functionality and even JavaScript functionality that we had in our applications. And it can be very annoying. And there is one site that might help you, and there are services that help you. One of them is Caniuse, where you can check the availability of different features. For example, let's say Flexbox. Now it's broadly available, but a while ago, it wasn't. One of the examples was Internet Explorer and partial availability in the IE 11 and 10. So this website will be the place where you will reside a lot. Just be prepared that you will have to be aware of different functionalities and support in different browsers. Web is a very big and segmented platform, and you will just have to accept this if you want to be a front-end developer. And last thing, a lot of times you will have to support outdated things, and knowing that there is a new, better way to do something like Flexbox or Grid, in some cases, the business requirements will make you support old technologies, and it can be annoying. For example, designing the emails or making layouts for emails. It's like making a website, basically, but for a very outdated and limited kind of browser, because email readers are kind of browsers as well. They're just very limited in functionality, and they feel like outdated browsers, to be honest. And it can be hard, and it's very, 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 very annoying. Thank you for listening to this old man's rant about how hard it is to be a front-end developer. Actually, nowadays, it's quite pleasant. 10 or even 5 years ago, it was much harder to be a front-end developer. You would have to deal with much more awkward technologies than nowadays. So I think it will get even better in the future. So being completely honest with you, if you want to become a front-end developer, I think you're making the right choice, and it's gonna be awesome. I wish you all the best. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also you can join my Discord server where we discuss front-end development and mostly React and TypeScript. Join in, let's talk, let's chat. See you in the next video.